Good morning, students. Myself, Dr. Vijender Singh Tawar, Associate Professor in English. Presently, I have been posted at Government College Gudha in the Jajnu district. In the series of video lectures, which are being prepared by me, this video lecture is meant for the student of BA Part First, Subject English Literature, Paper First. And the topic for this video lecture have been chosen is critical appreciation of the sonnet composed by William Shakespeare entitled Not Marble Nor the Gilded Monuments. Very famous sonnet and one of the series part of sequence of the William Shakespeare composed by William Shakespeare. Now William Shakespeare was born in 1564 and died in 1616. That is, he lived during the Elizabethan age. He has made a permanent place for himself in English literature. He has carved out a niche for himself in English literature. He is the greatest and poet and dramatist of English literature. He is regarded as one of the greatest poet of human nature who used to write in English. He has written 37 plays which include historical plays, tragedies and comedies. Means some of the plays composed by or written by, penned by William Shakespeare belong to the historical plays category. Some are tragedies. For example, King Lear, Macbeth, Julius Caesar, Romeo and Juliet, for which he is famous. And comedies, Comedy of Errors, As You Like It, etc. He has also written a sonnet sequence consisting of 154 sonnets. These sonnets express the intensity of his feelings. Some of his plays also contain poems which will continue to give pleasure to the readers through all ages. We should keep in mind that Dr. Johnson has said William Shakespeare did not belong to any age. That is, he will be read and appreciated by all the people of all the countries of all the ages. Love and courtship were the traditional subjects of the sonnet, to which Shakespeare added the theme of friendship. That is, before William Shakespeare started writing sonnets, sonnets were written only on two themes. Two subjects matter. One is love and another is love affair. William Shakespeare gave a new dimension by composing sonnets on the theme of friendship. He examined minutely this relationship, means the relationship of friendship between man and man in his sonnets. While 126 of Shakespeare's 154 sonnets are addressed to his friend and patron, the Earl of Southampton, and 28 of them are addressed to a dark lady. In all his works, Shakespeare exhibits an unequaled power of expression and profound insight into human nature. That he was a great poet of human nature. He understood the psychology of human beings very well, and this is evident from his sonnets. Now about the poem. The poem entitled Not Marble Nor the Gilded Monuments is 55th sonnet in the series of 154 sonnets by the English playwright and poet William Shakespeare. That is, he has written a sequence of sonnets from 1 to 154. This comes at number 55th. It is part of the Fair Youth sequence, which comprises sonnets 1 to 126 in the accepted numbering stemming from the first edition in 1609. The poet has addressed this sonnet to his friend and patron, the Earl of Southampton. The sonnet celebrates the immortality which verse can confer on human life, defying both time and death. Means the poet has presented us before the reader a fact that poem is also a monument, and with the passage of time it will remain unaffected with death and time. The poet pays a rich tribute to his friend by saying that while all the structure made of marble and other costly material will vanish means will come to an end, disappear, his friend will remain. He has made his friend immortal by writing this poem. That he has immortalized the beauty of his friend. Here, the sense is his friend will die physically, but he will live on poetically, and he has immortalized his friend by describing his qualities in his poems. As long as this poem remains, his friend will also be remembered by the future generations. While time, war, and fire can destroy every other thing, they cannot destroy the memory of his friend. It will remain intact in the immortal verse of the poet. The poet beautifully conveys his idea of immortality of poetry. The poet believes that poetry is immortal. It will remain unaffected with the death and passage of the characters described in them. He states that when a rich person or a king dies, his descendants, in order to keep his memory alive, make monuments. Means powerful people, rich people make monuments in the memory of their forefathers who are dead. These monuments are made of white marble or other costly materials. Sometimes they are covered with a layer of gold. That is very costly. But these monuments are not permanent. All of them will be ruined, will be destroyed by the cruel hands of time. The idea is that everything, including the marble structure and beautiful monuments covered with gold foil erected by kings and princes, will not survive forever. They are not permanent. Nothing in the world escapes the destructive power of time. Means time is very powerful. The poet has also composed poems in the praise of his friend. That is, he has made a monument, but his monument is his poem. He claims that his poetry is more powerful than the monuments, costly monuments made by rich people, powerful people. His poems will last longer. He further says that his friend who has been portrayed in his poetry will shine more brightly in the contents of the poet's verses with the passage of time. That is, more and more people will read about him and he will be shining more brightly. On the other hand, the beautiful monuments will lose their brightness in course of time. They will not be properly looked after, as we see that there are monuments in our neighborhood which were created by the kings of that time, but now they have turned into ruined. Why? Because they are not looked after properly. So the dirt will spread over them and make them unimpressive. The idea is that his poetry will be read and appreciated by more and more people in course of time. So his brightness will surpass that of dirty tombstones which are erected over the beautiful monuments, which are made by the descendants. They will not be shining as bright as the poet's friend. Beautiful statues, the poet now gives another idea, and grand buildings are destroyed by enemy soldiers during a war. The idea is that when there is a war between two countries, the soldiers destroy the property of their enemies that they come across on the enemy's soil. They put to fire great buildings and monuments and destroy the whole city. Every beautiful work of art is either put to sword or fire by invaders, that attackers. But the poet claims that neither the sword of the fighting soldiers nor the fire will be able to destroy the memory of his friend. The immortal verses of the poet will survive the onslaught. Onslaught means attack of war, and in them will live the memory of his friend. Then he attract our attention on another fact. He says, death and forgetfulness are the two enemies of a person's memory. The poet assures that his friend's memory will conquer forgetfulness and that works against the memory of all men. Forgetfulness and death will not be able to make people forget his friend. His friend will survive in the people's memory. In a different sense, his friend will die physically but live on poetically through the immortal verses of the poet. The future generation will remember him with the praise in their eyes. They will go on remembering him till the very doom, that is the day of judgment. On the day of judgment, the poet's friend will arise with all dead men and women in God's presence, as believed by all the Christians. Till that day, he will find a place in the hearts of admirers of the poet's compositions. The idea is that the memory of the poet's friend will be transferred from one generation to another till the day of judgment. As he says, so till the judgment that yourself arise, you live in this and you dwell in lovers' eyes. Now some critical comments, appreciation of the poem. First is point is form of the poem. The poem is a sonnet and it is modeled on the pattern of English sonnets with its usual division into three quatrains and a couplet. Three quatrains means stanza of 4 lines, three quatrains, 12 lines, and a couplet is stanza of 2 lines. The poet expresses his views regarding the immortality which verse can confer and provide give on human life, defying, challenging both time and death in the quatrains and sums up them in the concluding couplet. That he has used three quatrains and one couplet pattern while composing sonnet. Rhythm. The poem is a Shakespearean sonnet. It follows the traditional rhyme scheme of an English sonnet. The rhyme scheme of the poem is A B A B C D C D E F E F G G meter. The poem is composed in iambic pentameter. Each line consists of 10 syllables forming 5 feet. The first syllable of each foot is unstressed and the second is stressed. For example, not mar, bal, nor the gilded monuments, like that. Fourth is diction, that is the language. The poem displays Shakespeare's command over language and his felicity of phrasing. He had said what he had to say in the fewest possible words. The felicity and aptness of phrases, unswept stone, Scottish time are notable. They should be noted how the poet has coined phrases. Moreover, the language used by the poet is simple and easy to understand. Confidence. Extraordinary outburst of confidence in the immortality of his verse on the part of the poet is notable. The poet is quite confident and he challenges and he believes that his poem will last forever. He is true as wars have come and gone. London has been twice burned down, yet Shakespeare's friend goes on living in his verse. The poet is very confident that this poem will be praised and remembered from generation to generation till the day of judgment. Style. The poet has used the commonest musical devices of alliteration, that is, repetition of certain sounds, consonant sounds. The alliterative phrases shall, statues, shall, shine are notable. These are the example of alliteration also, figure of speech. They help to convey the idea of the poet effectively. The poet has also displayed a mastery of every possible rhetorical device. For example, the careful pattern of long and short vowels. Conclusion. In conclusion, it may be said that the poet has successfully established the greatness and permanence of poetry. He also makes the prophetic claim that this powerful rhyme, that is his poem, will outlive, surpass, and all grand monuments of the kings and princes, that is, by powerful and rich people. He believes that his own poetic powers will keep his friend's memory alive till the very day of judgment. The poem is a rich tribute of Shakespeare to his friend, and the poet has achieved his purpose in a masterly manner. Thank you very much.